Okay, so we'll call to order a meeting of the Drum Point Property Owners Association Board of Directors. It's 7:15, March 7th, 2017. I apologize for being late. I was coming back from some appointments in DC area that I had no idea would go so long. So, anyway, I don't have any real president's remarks, so let's just go ahead and go forward with the rest of the agenda, because I do think we have some other things to talk about. I guess any members of the public who wish to make comments, hearing none, volunteered. We'll move on to approval of the minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
So, that second?
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so we have a motion and a second, and it passed to approve the minutes. Office update.
Okay, Maryland DNR, speaking of, which we were earlier, called the other day, representative called, said they will be sampling Lake Vista again, which they've done in the past, to get an idea of the condition of it. We'll receive a report. They'll be doing it sometime between June and September, and they'll just put a boat in. And I'm not quite sure what they're checking for, bacteria, I suppose, and algae bloom, things like that. But we will get a report. The winter newsletter is gone, you know that. It was mailed February 27th. And if you recall, a few weeks ago, I don't think it was the February meeting, it might have been the February meeting, there was discussion about Cove Drive and people speeding on it, and could we get the monitor, the speed monitor there, the radar. So I called Joan Jaquette, who's the traffic engineer, I guess would be her title for the county. And she said that she would work on getting it for us, but the switch on it is broken, so it might take a while. And that's all I have.
All right. Okay, thank you, Rhea. So now we have round table, the board members. Jack, do you have anything? Okay, we'll just sort of go around and see if anybody has anything they want to raise, discussion.
I'll talk about finance
When we get to that, okay.
Okay, I had today, resident ask if we could get where we have the no outlet signs on a lot of our roads in. Well, there is not one on Pilot coming off of Rousby Hall.
Oh, and that little piece?
On that little piece, and it causes, I can tell you,
People
untold
turn around.
agony of people thinking they can go through.
Right.
And the poor people that live on Pilot and the two nice old ladies that live in the corner house suffer because everybody's turning around in that driveway because the GPSs all say it's a through road. And so the two ladies asked me specifically today, could we get a no outlet sign like we have on the other roads put in there?
I would think we can, except maybe we can't, because it's a state highway. That's really
But
Rousby Hall Road.
But Pilot is
Statewide.
not.
I know, but I'm not saying no. I'd say let's do it, and who's going to know that we did it? But I guess if we put it in far enough, then it's
Yeah,
on
just
the
add-
right.
just-
I mean, whose right of way is it when it intersects like that? You know what I mean?
No, but if you go
Well,
in about 5 feet,
That's what I was gonna say, if you come in
Their
far
right of way
enough-
ends and at some point our right of way
Right.
picks up,
So just come in like 5 feet.
yeah, go in,
Okay.
yeah. And
All right,
nobody's
it
gonna
was
say
just
anything.
a thought.
So I don't know if we
Yeah.
have any in the shed.
We might, and if
Okay.
we don't, I'll order one. If I
Okay.
have to order one, it'll take several
Yeah,
weeks.
I don't think that's a big problem. I think that anything that will help.
But I think it's helpful, anyway, it's helpful to everybody,
Oh, yeah.
because my street in Annandale had that same situation where it came down and then it ended, there was a creek, and it picked up again, but the GPS
Said
said,
it went through.
and I can tell you that all kinds of people came through there, just regular drivers, but I saw school buses, I saw emergency vehicles
Right.
going down there, so, it actually is a benefit to everybody.
It's a bit of an issue when you say emergency vehicles.
Oh, yeah, I did, I saw police go down.
There's, Lesson Drive is broken up into 4 parts here in this community, and it can be an issue. Pizza delivery is one thing, but when your kid is sick.
Yeah.
I don't know what I call this, people come down here and turn around, oh.
Right. So that was one. And then the other one is the state is doing something with our drainage on Rousby Hall.
On which side of Rusty Hall?
Well, apparently both sides, they're doing some kind of a survey of the drainage structures. There's pink tape everywhere.
Whereabouts?
Well,
What section?
Well, I specifically saw it today because
Uh-huh.
they appeared on that section of Pilot,
Oh, okay.
right? And that's why I found out about the two ladies wanting to sign, because I went and asked them, do you know what was going on? And they said, yeah, the survey crew was out marking, but I always have a problem with survey crews because survey crews don't pay attention to people's property. Oh, I can just go anywhere I want to, you know? And both of the neighbors, the two adjacent ones on Pilot, talked to the survey crew.
So in that, one of those things is that, with, you know, with Amy's interaction with the state, I mean, there was, the big issue was the drainage and the sediment that was being dumped into Leeston's Cove,
Right.
which was pretty significant. And she was able to, you know, to get buy-in from the highway department to come and re-examine their drainage and, you know, and what's happening with the culverts they have and how, you know, the amount of water that's actually going in through their culverts and being dumped.
So they're finally getting to this survey? Is that what?
I would think so.
Okay.
That might be what it is. I mean, you know that the wheels of highway departments turn slowly, so.
Right.
I can call State Highway, I probably have a number for somebody at State Highway, or I could ask Jeff
Yeah.
to check into it, he has all kinds of contacts.
I mean, what we tried to do with SCLT stuff is we went and put bio-log dams in, you know, back in the woods there. But, you know, they are more or less, you know, the first ones we put in were basically over top. The second one I haven't checked for a long time.
So, well, that's right behind my house. I think it's still working, sort of, because it does kind of pond.
I mean, as long as it kind of ponds, then there's,
It kind of ponds most of the year.
yeah,
but,
that's a good thing.
I just worry when the state highway is doing anything, that what are they gonna cut down? What do they think they need to do that's gonna affect?
Well, those are things that we need to know.
Yeah, so,
If I find anything out, I'll send an email to them.
Okay. I mean, you might also just send Amy an email and ask her who she actually interacted with the highway department. She'll know,
I might even have
she'll know
that
the woman's
phone.
name. I remember us going out and looking at it.
Right,
And,
right.
and there was, you know, really a positive response from the woman from the state.
okay. 'Cause I think they actually are cutting brush, cutting small branches and stuff, and the survey crews
To gain access.
to go in the woods.
Right,
So
okay.
if I find it hidden on the property, I'm gonna shoot it. Just kidding.
Didn't we just have discussion?
Your property's not posted?
That's what I was gonna.
In fact, there is, I didn't post it, but there is a no trespassing sign on the tree. Somebody must have done it in the past years, but it's just funny that it seems like the bald spot, which is from right of way actually,
Mhm.
is growing, and I'm just worried that somebody thinks they, you know, encroach.
All right. Anything else for you, as for Round Robin? Okay. All right. Well, then I'll mention something that we've sort of had a little bit of email discussion about, but I had a neighbor mention to me concern about a narrow passage of roadway and right in our section where we live. So it's as you take your right turn on Anchor, or I guess it could be left depending which way, but anyway, you go down Anchor. And then there's a little causeway and you come up around that turn and it's very narrow. And it's a sort of sharp turn, it's narrow and it's kind of hilly. And anyway, so he kind of tagged me and asked whether there was something we could do about it, whether it would be possible, for example, to widen that little section of road. And so on. So we had a little bit of email discussion. Rhea, I guess I contacted Rhea and John, and then
I copied you.
and then Rhea brought in Jeff, and Jeff did go by and look at it and said that in fact it is probably one of the narrowest little passages of roadway. But John was saying, well, probably, you know, not in our budget, and we'd have to get all kinds of permits to actually widen the road. And maybe not in our budget to do that type of thing, because you,
Jeff confirmed that.
and Jeff
It would
was,
be
yeah,
It would be fairly expensive to widen,
to actually
because I
widen.
think we would have to excavate into the hillside, because there's a house on the
Yeah, there
one
is.
side, so there's nowhere to go that way. So we probably have to go into the hillside,
Which is probably also their property.
which,
Is it owned by somebody?
well, part of it would be the right, part of it would be the right of
The
way.
other side of the road.
Part of it would be the right of way, so you can always expand in the right of way. But in order to take out the hillside, to cut the curve down, there's a fair amount of excavation that would be required, and that might
And
impinge on
you've
the
gotta
property
cut
line.
back the slope when after you do that.
Right,
Plus, that's the critical area.
right, and very, very close to the critical area,
Yeah, so
so.
the other side, on the other side, there's not really a house directly on the other side. It's kind of that wooded area that borders the, what we kind of call Turtle Pond.
Isn't there a house just after you start up the corner on the left?
Well, let's see, as you're coming around, there, yes, there's a house on the left, but not on the right.
Yeah, right, that's what I mean, the right is the hillside though.
Yeah,
And that's what we'd have to cut into, because of the way that,
I mean, you could put a retaining wall, but even if you did that, you'd have to cut back the slope above it. Right, John? Is that right? I mean, I haven't seen it. You
well,
can do
or
it.
you just have to cut way back, and, you know, which means taking out, I think there's some trees in there.
That's all kinds of permits.
so as you're heading into this, so you're on Anchor and Rousey House behind you, you're talking about, when you come around, there's a house there on the left. Is there one on the right? I don't
Just
think
step
so.
up right here, okay, isn't there a house right here?
Oh, yeah.
So this is the property we'd have to,
But
This
that's
is
sort of
what-
downhill from the,
right, the property, I don't even think there's a house in there.
no, I don't think so either.
But
It's just
we'd have to
kind of
cut
wooded.
into this part right here,
Oh, I see.
which is then very close to the water, right?
Oh, yeah.
So this is the problem, and then I think there's a house in lot one, this one.
Oh, yeah, there is. There's a house that sits up.
So
It
we'd be
sits up.
definitely talking about cutting into this bank right here. And what I would predict would happen as soon as we widen it, people are gonna go faster.
Well, that's the other thing, people will drive.
As soon as we widen it, people will think they've now got the Indianapolis 500. So,
So, I mean, and then, but there's, so there's the budget question, there's the, okay, if we do this one, then what are we gonna do about all the other requests? Is this really beyond our, I mean, we have our budget to repave roads, right? But, not so much to really kind of modify the road. So I don't know, anyway, it was brought up to me, and I told my neighbor that I would bring it up. So other ideas we talked about,
Well,
or,
recall too that Jeff had said that that area is due probably in the next 2 years to have that mile repaved, that we do one every year of. And that in so doing, I think it's like a 17-foot, he thought, width on the pavement, so that when we repave, because the the paving machines are 8-foot width, you're going to overlap some, you're also going to come out a little bit on the edge of the road, which in effect is widening the road. It wouldn't be the same as actually building, cutting into the side and widening the road, but it would give you probably another couple of inches on each side. And,
it might feel lighter.
well, yeah, and no permitting will be necessary. It's just part of the course of what we do. Once a year, we repave a mile of road. So that will give it a little bit of a boost on the width. And then the signage.
So-
we talked about
Somebody
signage, 'cause
mentioned
in the
signage,
past,
I don't know.
yeah, and it's true, we have a sort of a double line that goes down that section, I guess because
Mine
of
was
the
put there a
causeway.
couple years ago because a gentleman complained
To slow people
to
down.
slow people down.
Uh-huh.
And it might have been the same gentleman.
It might have been the same
And Gary
guy,
said,
'cause-
yeah, let's go ahead and extend
Because
that
they,
stripe.
yeah, so they extended it around. It is kind of a bad little turn, I know that sometimes.
So we could try just putting a 15-mile-an-hour speed limit each direction for that corner.
Yeah, 15 mile per hour,
And-
and then maybe, because is it before the causeway that there was the Watch for Children sign? Or no, was it after the
I
causeway?
think it's after the causeway.
There was a sign down there, Watch for Children, because there was a house with just a whole bunch of
Well,
foster
the
kids.
gentleman that wanted that sign though was not that house. It was somebody further up. I think he's actually since left.
Oh, it
because of the
wasn't
kids.
for the
It was, I don't,
I
it was
thought it was
just for the area in
speaking?
general.
Oh, okay, I
If,
was
you-
just,
if, even though they're not totally legit, if you put a couple of 15-mile-an-hour signs in there, what are people gonna do? They'll ignore them or they won't, but at least they'll give them the idea they should.
it's signals,
It's
yeah.
signals.
Because, and I thought maybe a sign that says, either
Curve.
50 miles or
Yeah.
slow, and then
Caution
with
curve.
those little
Well,
caution.
no, it's just actually caution curve,
Yeah.
15 mile an hour.
Yeah.
It slows them
So
down.
some
slows them
signage.
down.
That I will have to order,
Okay.
but that's, yeah.
So,
Yeah, but
I mean,
anything
does
we
anybody
can
have
try.
any other thoughts? I mean, does anybody want to suggest that we
I mean,
pursue?
John, you're saying that in discussion with Jeff said, was really looked at the engineering aspects of it.
Yeah,
I mean, so many, but the signage is,
He said signage. would be
I mean,
good.
Jeff suggested that too.
Mhm,
I mean, that's what I would do, is figure out some way to do that,
Signage,
signage.
mhm.
and then repave and sort of,
Yeah.
and well, the other thing too is that the yellow lines are kind of faded, just
Mhm.
sort of worn and faded, dirty, I don't know what, but you can't see them very well, I don't know. Are there other sections of road that have the,
There are some that we've relined every time, when we repave. The thing is, when we do the rejuvenation, it covers up all those lines. So then you have to decide, are you gonna have everything restriped? Or, I think at one point we kind of cut back because, it's not cheap.
So, but what we could do is we could, if we feel we need striping is normally something a paving company can do. So we could put it into the plan for when we do the work in the late summer.
Yeah, but again, if you put that line down the middle and they already feel it's narrow, that's just gonna make it feel more narrow.
Yeah.
well, which, visually, when you make that's what a lot of up in the suburbs, Virginia, they do, they paint to make roads look more narrow so people will slow
Yeah.
down. So, the narrowing actually could slow people down, or the visual effect of narrowing.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And it
But if
won't
the
make it
guy-
actually
The guy's
narrower.
complaint is, well, I'm just reacting to the guy's
Yeah.
complaint is that it's
Mhm.
narrow.
Yeah,
Mhm.
And we're gonna make it more narrow.
or it just really only look more
The problem is, it's narrow when
What you
people go
see
too
is what you
fast.
narrow. What's that?
It's narrow when people go too fast.
Yes,
Because just being narrow isn't a problem.
right,
It's when people are
or going
opposing
too
traffic,
fast.
going too fast.
Because they don't realize, obviously, people who live back there do, but visitors, or I think he mentioned something about I always tell my kids, you've got to watch that turn, blah, blah, blah. Anyway,
I think the 15 mile an hour speed
Okay.
limit and the caution curve,
it's a good start.
see what happens.
Try it, see what happens.
Okay, okay, that's it for me. Tony, did you have anything around Robin? Kurt? Okay, well then we have our committee reports, so, John, did you have?
Well, I was just, since we're talking about signage, I did go and look at, we put all those signs, extra signs on, what's the street? We put the extra signs in.
Riverview.
On Riverview, and so far, nobody's gone around them, so
Oh, that's
maybe it worked.
It was
Because
to keep people out of the right of way.
keep people from mudding in the right of way with their four wheels. And because we've cut out half of the mud, I think maybe it will improve, but I did run by there the other day and look at it to make sure. Now, of course, we ought to probably come up with a different sign than the neighborhood watch or change the phone number to 911 maybe, but, so, anyway.
Okay,
So, I think that's it. I don't have anything else right now.
for the committee report, okay. All right, Janet, you want to talk about the finance committee?
Yep, the budget season's coming up, so we've got to prepare for a budget. This will be my first go-around, so I'm gonna learn how to do it this time, I guess. We have a finance committee, just to be sure, Mike Snap,
Yes.
Jerry Budnick,
Mhm.
and Mike Chaconis, who lives over at.
Oh, I didn't know he volunteered, that's
Yeah.
amazing, okay.
He's a budget guy with a base, so he
Okay,
knows
good.
stuff. So that'll be the three. Then what I would think we would have, first first of all, I'd like to get with you, Rita, so I
Mhm.
can see what expenses we know that might be coming up, what changes. I don't think there'll be much, Gary said there wouldn't be much change here.
I don't think there should be. I always try to keep a little list in my notebook as I come across things that I need to pay and I really have no line item for. Gary always says, well, put it in and just create a line item and with no money. That way we know
That's the kind of thing.
next year, this is what we need to do,
That'd be good.
or at least it can be discussed.
Yeah, I heard Gary mentioning that.
Mhm.
There you go. Rita's notes, important.
At some point, I'll just, in the next few days when I come in,
Yeah.
just to go over this.
Yep. I'll be here. I'll ask them to start
So
with.
do you have a plan for a meeting or a date for a meeting or anything like that? or
That's expensive.
I wanna get all the background
Get your-
first, get the
Get your
documents,
bearings,
and
yeah.
you'll attend to it, right?
Yeah, I thought I'd sit in, just only because I'm sort of, also unfamiliar with the process, so it'd just be for my edification.
Just remember, I need 24 hours notice to put it on the website,
Sure,
because all the
Yeah.
meetings are open.
okay. So, yeah, I just have to coordinate and see when all are available, and find out if they need time and so.
Let me know if you need contact information.
I was thinking it'd be sometime later this month. I noticed in previous years it's been as late as April, but
Oh, yeah,
Gary thought it might be sooner the better.
we might even need more than one, so.
Yeah, could be.
And it has to go into the summer newsletter, which goes out,
The proposed budget.
the proposed
Yeah,
budget, yeah, so people are notified, because we vote on that at the
Oh,
June
right,
meeting.
right. Yeah, so that's the end point we're aiming at. That's the job.
That newsletter, and, yeah, the meeting.
And that's, that goes out, so the meeting's in June, so the summer newsletter goes out in May?
Probably May
May-ish?
timeframe.
Okay.
So that's the plan.
Good.
And I guess we'll just produce the best we can.
Yes, sir.
Well, we're sort of lucky, this year, as sort of new board members, because all the wrinkles have been ironed out and all the problems, we don't have any great, terrible issues of the day that we.
Don't jinx it.
So I was thinking, knock on wood, but, the
Did you
STDs
say
were
that
out.
out loud?
Well, the STD's done, as of last year, of course, we were around for that, but anyway, I just feel like we're kind of lucky as far as all that goes. Kudos to the existing leadership.
Well, we
Came
owe a
before.
lot of that stuff to Gary.
Yes, I know, that's why I'm just sort of, thank you, my lucky stars. Maybe I shouldn't do it out loud, but I was. Okay, so, let's see, Peter, did you want to say anything for the safety committee?
Yeah, as usual, I've got something I'd like to, first of all, because the CERT team was abolished, we have a safety committee, which is a permanent committee under the liability laws of our association. And as such, we are allowed 12 people to be named as this committee, which then has some standing within the liability clauses of our. And I have a list of people I'd like to change and eliminate and add to it, if the board would approve that. These are people who we can either call on a pretty much passive basis to report in or help us in some way that the board would approve of in using them under an event of some sort, such as an ice storm or some trees are down or a hurricane or something. This doesn't mean they would go out and administer first aid or set broken legs or anything, but at least help in a damage assessment, and if they are informed of what's going on there on their own, they might want to go and help. It's sort of an outreach into the community to help us in terms of an event. And the people, we have 12 people. The changes I would like to suggest the following is to take off the following 4 people who I don't think are in a position to help us. Amy Rispin, Len Addis, Max Munger, and John Ivanchek. These are 4 individuals who were on it, who I've suggested we take off. And I would like to add Chris Boyles, who has picked up a CB channel and has expressed an interest in joining. And then there are 2 people who are the member of the same family. You may be familiar with them, Bruce and Libby Fall. Have you heard?
So you wanna add
I
Bruce
don't
to
think
the
you are
safety
down on
committee?
it.
Oh, yes.
Okay, but
I'd
not,
like to add
but
Bruce.
not me.
Yeah,
Me as
well, now, I'm gonna read you the entire list so that you're aware of the who people we are. And then you can vote or not vote in favor of these people. Gary Heel's a member, and Peter Holt's a member. Joe Frost is a member. Chris Moody's a member. Some of these are communicators, radio communicators. Ralph Swartwood, who everybody knows. Alexander Velasquez, who is a member of the Solomons Volunteer Fire Department. Some of you know Rhea Webster is a member. Larry Rich. Vince Barazone, who rarely comes to our meetings, but he is down at the beach and has expressed helping us whenever he can. And then Chris Boyles and Bruce and Libby Fall, which gives us a total of, I think it's 11. We're still under our dozen, if I recall. I can count them if you want, but it's under 12. So if you would agree to these substitutes or addeds and subtractions, I then make up this spring issue of the DPWA Safety and Volunteer roster, which is given to the county. Kim Gott knows about this list and she wants a copy up at the county level. And Rhea has it on the back of her safe. It's also for the Drum Point Radio Club, which in dire emergency, if it ever happened that night, the radio amateurs would cook in and help us with communication. It rarely happens, but who knows, you know.
So given those that you want to remove, of which I only recognize one name, but with our history, is this the individual not desiring to participate anymore?
Here's the thing, Max Munger turned in all his equipment and safety equipment.
Okay, all right.
He did that. Len Addis feels that he's not really up to contributing much. John Avenchek moved out of the community, is that correct?
Yes.
And Amy Rispin is not down here sufficiently for me to put her on the list as somebody who I thought would be able to assist us. So that's my rundown on those 4 people, the justifications. And instead substituting 3 new people who are deeply involved. Bruce is going to be on the board of the club. And Libby, of course, is very interested in what we're doing. And as I like to have a member of the board, also a member of the safety committee. And so that's why Gary has always been a member. And of course, Rhea's a member, but I wanted to feel as if it isn't just some committee that's off in nowhere, but it's a very involved committee. I have a few other items, but I'll leave that motion on the table.
So that's a motion?
Well, I can't make a vote, I'm not a board member,
So
but I would propose it, and one of you could make the motion.
Sure. Can I just ask a question? Are these members, is there any effort for them to be sort of geographically spread around the
Yes.
community?
Yeah, certainly is.
Okay.
And the nice thing is that Chris Boyles lives down overlooking the Patuxent River in the base. I live over here, let me just go over the list. Joe Frost lives over there. Chris Moody is a radio amateur. He lives on Leeson Cove, and he's a radio amateur, and he is actually the secretary of the Drum Point Radio Club. Ralph Swartwood overlooks the bay, you know where Ralph lives. Alexander Velasquez lives about 2 or 3 blocks from my house in that area over there. We know where Rhea lives. Larry Rich lives down on Deer Drive. which is down there. Vince Ferrazone lives near the beach, and Bruce and Libby Fall live. So we have, generally speaking, a pretty good distribution. We don't have somebody way up in the far area where the Budnicks live, which is Calvert,
Calvert.
yeah, up in
That's
that
sort of
section,
Calvert's sort of-
which is very susceptible to damage in wind damage. And they usually get hit, so that we don't have.
Well, we're sort of close to that. Yeah, I don't know, just as you were going through the list, I'm not trying to duck out of it or anything, but I was just thinking, you know, my neighbor, the Davies,
Yeah,
Chris and Connie Davies, you know, whether Chris Davies would be, because he's, you know, been reluctant, you know, just because they're busy, but they're kind of young, and they're sort of towards that Calvert section. Oh, they're only a couple doors away from us, really, but it's just sort of a thought that it would be a way for him to be involved in a neighborhood thing.
Mhm.
But if you wanted to move forward with your list now, tonight, then
I'd like
that's
to go
fine.
forward with the list.
Uh-huh.
We could always consider, we have room for one more person. The reason I want you and Gary and others on this committee is I want somebody who is president to be able to say to somebody in authority, I think we really need the safety committee. And under our liability rules, it's good to have a board member
Sure.
with that authority rather than just a committee member. I mean, I can go out because Gary says, you know, if you need to activate this thing, go ahead. But I think it's always nice to have somebody from the board to consult with,
Sure.
say, what do you think as a board member? Can we do this? Now, this has rarely, if ever, happened.
Sure.
It's happened only 2 or 3 times since I've been here. But
Gotcha.
anyway,
Okay.
that's
All right, good.
coming.
So, does
So I
anyone
make
have
a motion that we accept this revised safety committee.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All,
I think we've had enough explanation by Peter, so.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. So,
Okay.
then how we?
Well, I publish a list and Rhea has a copy.
Okay.
The board is welcome to have a copy if anybody wants to see it. Here's another copy if you want to see it. Pass it around. What it does is contain, and this is when I want to go to my next segue, if I have a segue. I went up to the Emergency Operations Center a couple days ago, and I had a good meeting with Al Jeffrey and Tim Gott, Al being the Director of Emergency Management, and Kim Gott being the assistant up there manager, who's been there for 10, 12 years. 2 things I did there. One was to be sure that we here have access to the Operations Center website and all the panels that they see. And it includes cameras of the bridge, it includes incident, you're probably familiar with this kind of thing. They have an operations room with displays all over. And we are the only civilian non-organization which has access to this, which means that we're in pretty good shape. He's given us a password, and we can see visually in a crisis what's going on as if we were sitting in the operations center. We can even input into it if we want to, as if we were sitting in the operations center.
Is this during like a declared emergency, or can you just go sit down right now and open this up and look at it? Just curious.
If it is not on unless there's a declared emergency,
Okay.
unless
So this
the
is sort of
EOC
the
is
coordinating.
activated.
They have to be activated and turn everything on.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, gotcha. It's not
Now,
just
Rhea and
there.
I worked for a while, and we were on telephone contact with Al to update our password and get access to it. And the reason is I don't want to lose this privilege.
Mhm.
It's something, unless I continue to express interest in it, I think we'll probably lose it because they update it periodically, and our password was a little defunct, so we had to get back into it. But Bree and I can make it work. It's a real privilege to be able to do that, because in a crisis, we're gonna be able to see exactly what's going on.
Now, I'm just curious, do you suppose, would our safety committee be involved in their drills that they do? Because he mentioned that this is the year they're doing the gigantic drill that involves the entire sort of metro area affected by a potential emergency at the nuclear power plant. So it's like 23 counties or, but I was curious, do you think, does our status involve us in that kind of thing?
He might put us in a very small part, because we are written into their major operation plan. There are 2 pages, we are entered into the community emergency as a center. We have not been called upon, because they have such much bigger issues
Sure.
to worry about, the nuclear power plant.
Oh, of course, I just was curious, I was just kind of curious.
I would
because-
think we might have a hard time playing in a scenario, a nuclear power plant scenario, because we would be a victim community and be evacuated, not trying to help mitigate
Yeah,
the problem.
Well, we would be one of the sheltered or shelter-in-place evacuation area. We might be designated an evacuation area. They might,
but it would
Who
just,
knows?
yeah, just, I mean, actually, it would be, I'm not proposing one or the other, whether we should be involved, but I mean, it would be kind of interesting, because in an emergency like that, I mean, that is the type of emergency where, okay, now we have access to this thing, what do we do, or what do they do with us? Do they,
well, I was talking to the helicopter
what
pilot,
would
for
we do
instance.
actually in that situation?
The helicopter pilot can land here on the Drum Point Club. And
Right,
we can, depending on the situation, I've learned that there's an infinite number of possibilities of where you could get involved in this. The important thing is, I think if we can play a role, any kind of role, it keeps us on their horizon. And we can call up, they know Rhea, they know me, they know Gary, they know you now, they met you. That is big. We aren't just some stranger calling in.
right.
So this is, I think, very important to do that. The other thing I wanted to mention, well, so that's up and running, and we should all be aware of that. I also gave him a report, which I think is very important, in that several months ago, some kids 18 to 22 years old managed to shut down in major cities the 911 calling system for many hours, because they put in a software program that made iPhones call 911 in these cities every 5 seconds. So suddenly, they were getting inundated with so many 911 calls that the system broke down. And I brought this to Al Jeffrey's attention, and I thought he ought to be aware of it. He hadn't seen that report. It was in a city like Cincinnati and elsewhere, their entire 911 system was just slammed up. And this is by a bunch of teenagers. So you can imagine what cyber warfare could do. The other thing I want to mention is I was watching a bank the other day, and there's skimming going on, and I saw a guy skimming the credit cards going in to use the ATM machines. I talked to the police about it. They say it's very prevalent around here, that people standing near or near ATM machines can skim all your data, your ID and your passwords. So be very careful. It's going on quite rampantly. What they do is they take your data and then they make a new credit card, and they go to a store like Walmart and they buy $10,000 worth of gift cards, which gives a gift up, and then they take those gift cards and do anything they want with it. So just be aware.
How do they do
It's
this?
prevalent. Well, they have an electronic device that you get on eBay for about $110, and you attach it to your smartphone. And in this case, there was a guy sitting in a car in the parking lot, and this man was standing near the ATM machine, and he was reading the cards and sending it to the computer. And after about 6 or 7 people used the ATM machine, now the bank shouldn't have allowed them to be standing out there, but they weren't watching their cameras. But I reported it to the bank manager and to the police, and they gave me all the background on how much skimming is going around here. So, for instance, at the Giant, at the gas station, There was a guy sitting on Truman Road in his car, actually skimming the people putting their ATM, putting their cards in to get gas.
I don't know how you can stop that from, you can't be careful enough for that not to happen to your card.
Well,
Raising cash.
all you do
Well,
is
there's
look
that.
and make sure,
I know.
I'm just, this is probably isn't DPPOA business, I just wanna let you all know, it's part of safety if you want. But, make sure there's nothing attached near the ATM machine, that nobody's standing right here pretending to wanna get access the way this guy was, because that gives them enough proximity, so the radiation can be picked up, we call it emanation. And so just be aware of it. I mean, one of the policemen said, I never use an ATM machine, because if I need cash, I go into the bank and I go and get it, I don't use a machine. There's so much going on. It's happened at Walmart, it's happened, just about everywhere. That's all I have to report.
What's the range? How, is it 10 feet, 20 feet? How aware do you have to be?
It depends on the machine you're using. If you have a machine that you're about 5 feet away, it's as good as having put, as you've read, somebody puts a reader nearby, and you can't see it's the same color and everything. So the first thing the bank manager did, she came out and the police said they're gonna check the machine itself to see if there was something. But this fellow that I was observing was so damn close that he didn't have to have it. And he was probably in direct contact with the computer that was sitting in the car in the parking lot. And then he got in the back seat and the guy in the driver's seat drove on. So, it's pretty obvious what was going on. But, all you can do is tell the bank that during that time period, somebody was probably skimming your ID cards, and you might keep an eye on that. The police said if you see something like that, call them immediately, because they wouldn't want to intervene in that situation. But after the fact, it's pretty hard to catch them. Okay, I'm sorry, didn't mean to take so much time, but.
No, that's good. Alrighty, well, that's, those are for the committee reports. Does anybody have any old business they wanted to raise?
For the meeting on Saturday, I know we're going to bring up and discuss the idea of no hunting. And I just saw that you're putting you're talking about new business, no soliciting signs at the entrances. My wife isn't going to let the no hunting issue die.
That's okay.
So,
It's on the agenda, isn't it? So that's no
and,
problem.
but Gary is reluctant, I think. She talked to the animal control folks, because they come into the post office all the time. Their opinion is that we shouldn't have hunting anywhere in Drum Point because of proximity to housing. There is no place that we're not so close that there isn't some safety risk. That was his opinion. And that if the community won't take action, he can go to the NRA, and the NRA can force us to post.
NRA?
Yeah.
National Rifle
Yes.
Association? Oh,
Yes, because they want hunters
Seems
to do,
surprising.
they want hunters to do the right thing,
okay.
because it looks bad on them when they don't.
Mhm.
And so they're very anti folks who don't follow the rules.
Right.
So, it may be something that we have to stronger consider and say. The problem is I don't think there's a way to post just no hunting. Unfortunately, I don't think anybody makes the way the policies, I think, are written. So we may have to figure out a way to get beyond, we want people to be able to fish, but we don't want them to hunt.
So what would the sign, when you say it can't be just no hunting, what does that mean? The sign will say what, no?
You have to say no trespassing. No.
Which would prohibit fishermen.
Right, but we don't want, right. And so we don't want to say that, because we don't want to keep people from being able to fish the shore.
I've seen
Well,
signs
if
that
they
say
have a license.
posted, property posted. What is that posted against? What does that
Right,
mean?
yeah.
Hunting?
I thought it was usually hunting.
So, yeah,
Yeah,
why
so
can't we just get those?
We'll probably have to explore
But yeah,
how we can post.
I think you hit our solution though. We present it to the general membership. If there's a lot of quibbling or whatever, then we sort of ask the NRA to step in.
How
And
can
our
they
hands are
post
clean.
How can they come and post our property?
No, no, they would force us to.
They
Well,
yeah,
how can
see,
they force us when these are privately maintained roads? How, I mean, I'm not saying they
I'm
shouldn't
not
be.
opposed, I'm just curious,
How can
yeah.
they do that?
How's that work?
I don't know,
I don't know, but we can say we were forced into it.
This is true.
Come
We didn't
on.
wanna do this.
You passed, force majeure. You
You're not a
know, we
politician,
said
are
yes,
you?
and these people told us we have to say no.
And we're all required to have semi-automatic, and to have assault
That's right.
rifles.
And yeah, make sure you got that semi-automatic for when the guy comes on your
Yeah, it's
property.
interesting, they're really
Yeah, but-
concerned about making sure the hunters are behaving, but they don't seem as concerned about all the people who own their,
No.
all the semi-automatics and, you know,
There's nothing wrong with a
Call
semi-automatic.
them.
AK-47.
Semi-
Or,
There's
well,
nothing
I don't
wrong
know,
with
I don't know.
Semi-automatics are fine.
I don't know
Yeah,
what I'm
Automatics
saying.
are-
automatics are a different issue.
No, I mean, those big
Unless you're in the
giant,
army, yeah.
you know, they don't seem to care with this, those ones have a much better
Anyway,
margin.
so just something that, we'll see how the discussion goes on Saturday, but we may have to be
I
creative.
think the NRA is the answer. If they can force us to do it,
Well, I don't know, I mean, I think if there is a concern of, in opposition to the posting,
Mhm.
it's because there's a concern about elevating this, tension. And it seems to me that if we got to the point that the NRA was coming in, that would represent
Attention.
a ratcheting up. So I think it's probably better to manage it, ourselves.
I don't think
If we
there'll be
can.
that much, objection to it.
It doesn't affect a lot of the community, because a lot of the community is really too close.
Right.
that's right.
And, the deer aren't going there because there's too many houses. I mean, do you ever have deer out on the end of Leeson Cove Point,
No, but I do in my
Oh, wait a
front
minute, I
yard,
got
and there's
deer in
houses
front
all
of my
around
house.
me.
Yeah.
And I got deer walking down the beach.
Sure.
See, you see the
Right, yeah,
prints?
right.
I mean, and we're
Yeah.
fully developed.
That's
But I don't want
nice.
somebody hunting there.
Yeah.
Right.
I got nothing against hunting, but I don't want them doing it in front of my house.
Well, that's the problem is there are people going into the areas that when it's leafed, you can't see the houses, but they're there. And so,
I still think the NRA is
Well,
right.
let's just see how it goes.
We'll see how it
And,
goes, so.
We have
And
a
see what they-
resident goose eradication program.
Where do you sign up for that?
No, I was an active participant in a program called Geese Peace at Lake Barcroft.
Any dead goose is in
They
peace.
weren't dead.
You can't argue with
They're in
that.
peace, man, they're in peace. You don't have to
Or
worry
in
about it.
pieces.
Yeah, whatever, it's still peace.
Okay.
Anyway.
But that was just something
That was the
Wasn't
look,
the idea.
that was the look, she gave you the look.
But look, you know how I keep the geese away from the front of my house? I send the dog out.
Yeah, that's what Geese Peace did. They had a little, what are those little cattle,
Now, I was
they don't bark, but
I was
they
reading an
Bird
article
kennel, yeah.
in the golf magazine when I was golfing the other day up north, and there was an article on this laser device that they use on the golf courses that the geese don't like. It's a green laser light, and all they do is they walk along and the geese run away. It's a very strange, I don't know how it works, but they don't like this laser.
Wow.
And it's just like, it looked like a flashlight, and they were talking about it, and they would walk along the path, and you gotta keep them away from the water. That was the problem with the golf courses, because they wanna go in the lake, and then once they're in the lake, you can't get, but they would chase them from the fairways using this laser.
Golf courses use Geese Peace too. This dog, that goes around. It's really funny, we took the dog out on the boat, and around Lake Barcroft. And it's really hilarious because you'd think that the dog's job would be to bark at these geese. No, the dog never says a word. The dog just has on this little jacket. What's that type of dog? It's that little cattle herding dog. A little dog. not
Border
herding.
collie.
Border collie, thank you. And he just stands on the front of the boat and he just gives the geese the stink eye. He really does. They don't bark. That's not how they do their job. They just go there and they just sort of give them the attitude.
Stare them down, right?
Yeah.
You know, my
Yeah,
dog
and then
doesn't
if
bark
the
at
geese
him
don't
either.
take off, then they stop the boat and let the dog will run around on the beach and chase them off, but no barking.
You know, my dog doesn't bark at him either, he just sort of runs down the beach and they disappear.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a good repellent at our place, it's called Screaming Wife.
Yeah,
Open the door and say, "Yeah!" They run.
Anyway,
we
Okay. Well,
digress.
good, so we'll have a conversation, and we'll just sort of take the temperature of
Yeah, we'll
things.
see how it goes.
And,
And John, you can make a motion at the meeting.
Yeah, okay, well, let's see what the, how the discussion goes, and
And your wife could make a motion too.
that's right.
That's right, general member.
she works on Saturday.
Uh,
What time is the meeting, remind me?
10 o'clock.
Okay, so that's sort of the old business, so we're gonna wing it and see how it goes, okay, on Saturday. So, new business, presentation of the slate of candidates for the nominating committee, so,
None of the nominating committee
Committee is
could come tonight, but I do have a letter that they've signed. I can show it to you if you'd like, it's on my desk. But Craig Sellers, Dwayne Heidemann, and Len Addis all came in to sign to say that this is the slate of candidates they're putting forth, and that would be Jerry Budnick, Mike Snap, Bonnie Blades, and Gary Heel. So,
That's four.
there are 4 slots. Now, Saturday is the presentation to the
Mhm.
community. I
How'd
don't
you
know,
talk Mike Snap into doing it?
Gary
Good.
met up with him at the club, the yacht club, I think, and they were talking, and he was very willing to do it.
Good, that's good.
But anyway, if none of the nominating committee can be there on Saturday, we'll have the letter signed by the committee, that you can read it.
okay.
Okay. But I will send a reminder to the committee that the meeting is Saturday, and that it would be good if one of them could at least be there.
And then,
You think it might not be a bad idea to have a couple copies of that letter, because I'm sure some people will want to read it.
Oh, it's just such,
Oh.
I will
Yeah,
do
yeah,
that, but it's
somebody
a
will-
very short.
Somebody's,
two-
there's bound to be a
that we could
couple.
pass out.
Okay, if you want to see it here.
Gary had mentioned one time that there were rumors that there was going to be a nomination from the floor. Do we know anything about
I
that?
don't know anything about that.
So
but I would
that's
be
it.
surprised.
That's it, we're supposed to
I mean,
ask.
if it
anything
happens,
Yeah,
I mean, there's nothing we can do, we simply have to accept it. That's
Right.
the thing.
He doesn't even need to be seconded.
But it would force us having to have a mail ballot. That's
Right.
the problem.
So then if there aren't any nominations, then we can entertain a motion to accept the slate
By
of candidates for
acclamation.
acclamation.
Right.
And then we don't even have to have a vote
Right.
later, but that's only if we have a quorum.
Right.
Yeah.
And then if there isn't a quorum, well, we really won't be having this full meeting that we're discussing.
We'll have to call a special meeting.
We'll have to call a special meeting, so I'll have to read that paragraph, and the people at the meeting will then vote, have a motion and vote to have a special meeting. I'll get it all, I'll rehearse that whole business, before
To be
then.
nominated, you have to be a member in good standing, so if one spontaneously comes up, it has to be.
That's what I was saying, right?
Yeah.
Which Rio will sort of have a pretty
Yeah,
good
I've always
beat
got
on,
the list of who is,
and everybody signs in at the
Yeah.
meeting.
The important list is who isn't.
well, they would not be on the list of those who are. Therefore, they're not.
Once you receive the nominations statement, before you ask people from the floor, you could state, well, we have the advantage of having 4 and 4, which would preclude having to go out. However, and that would save us $800
Right, right.
a lot of time, however, the floor is open for nominations. So if somebody then stands up, the
Okay,
public at large would see, well, this person is
Yeah,
so
I'm going to
anxious
do
to
that.
get on board that they're gonna force us to have an $800 fee and a lot of effort go into it. But that's just a suggestion.
okay, I think that's a good suggestion, excuse me, and I will do that. I think that would be fine.
The other thing, having been on the nominating committee before, I would suggest that if those people who have been nominated are present, it's a time thereafter to allow them to stand up and be acknowledged and let the community get to know them a little bit. We used to have a
Have them
period
say
of get to know the candidate
Oh,
type thing, where people they could get up and stand and people would see who they are before. Because the period between March and June is the period when the candidates would be campaigning.
mhm.
Let me say it that way, when we have 6 or 7
Well, their profile would be circulated in
It'll go in
the
the
newsletter
newsletter.
and that sort of
But
thing.
that's why we have the gap between the nominations, and there's a period of candidacy that is open for campaigning. We've had people put posters out here, vote for me, you know, vote for directors, yeah. So, I mean, you need that period. And my hope was that eventually we would have a meet your candidates forum. However, if we only have 4, it's still an opportunity at that general meeting for people to meet who these candidates are, because they may not have even met them or seen them in their lifetime.
Well, now, should we have a little written thing that we could pass out, or is that sort of, that's kind of short notice
I
to?
mean, in
Or
the
just
past,
have
when
them
we
stand
had, you know, voting by mail, I mean, basically, we had, you know, each candidate, you know, put together a little
Sure.
bio,
Right.
and the bios were made
I'll
available.
bet they did, doesn't the nominating committee have them? We can-
They
I
have,
have
they have to
bios.
submit a
Mhm.
bio
I have
for
one
the nomination.
For everybody except, what is it, my stamp.
Handing them out puts him in a bad light.
Well, I'm sort of.
Sometimes you can do it after a formal meeting and say the candidates will be afterwards, if you have any questions you want to meet them.
But-
Or you can say, we'll reserve 15 minutes at the end of the meeting for anybody who wants to ask questions.
But this is after the fact that they've
Yeah.
already.
After the
done
nomination, yeah.
Oh, but I mean, if we're trying to, supply information for people to agree to vote for acclamation,
Oh, that's separate, yeah. I'm sorry, I don't
Yeah, the
understand.
bios.
that's what I was asking, it's like, okay, so say we have 4 candidates, nobody else nominates, we can just, go ahead and entertain a motion to accept the slate by acclamation, but I don't know who brought it up about nobody really having a chance to get to know the candidates. So I guess what I was asking is, did you want them to stand up and say something at the meeting, or we could read a brief little thing about each one when they stand up,
That has been done.
introduce them, or,
It
does
has been
anybody
done.
feel?
I've even read somebody that wasn't there, their bio and their
Is,
hopes of what they hope to achieve by being.
is that what we do at that meeting, or is that what we do at the actual voting time?
Well, if we're gonna do the acclamation, I guess I'm wondering, do you really wanna just grease the skids and say, hey, everybody, we've got these 4 candidates,
Well, we've done that in the past, but I mean,
But that's,
Do you feel
that's
like
the
it's-
slate, that's the slate, that's not the vote of the community. On the committee members, that happens in June, right?
well, no, see, apparently there's a
No?
little,
If we
If it goes to
catch in
middle
the
now.
rule that if there are the same number of candidates as there are open slots, and that's what we have, which right now, that's the situation. So if we have 4 candidates, 4 slots, then at the meeting this coming Saturday, we can have a motion from the floor, or from any member, other than myself as chairing the meeting, to say, I move that the membership accept this slate of candidates by acclamation. So basically,
It closes the nominations
Yeah.
at that point.
No, it's the election.
I
If
thought,
you- if you
I
have
thought it meant they were
acclamation-
in. Oh, it
She'll
doesn't
close
mean
the
they're in?
nominations.
Closes the
She'll close the
nominations.
nominations.
Therefore,
And
because
then,
this is the last date on Saturday that you can accept nominations.
Mhm.
So therefore, the association closes the nomination.
Right.
Then, if you have to have an election, you have to, but if you don't, then in June, you say we accept it by acclamation
Oh, I
in June.
see.
I
Does that
thought
make
in
sense?
March,
No, you
it's
have to have
accepted
the
at
acclamation during the meeting.
the March
You
meeting.
you have to have a quorum, and
Yeah.
if you have a quorum, then you can say, you have to have a motion to accept by acclamation.
That's what we've done, during
You-
that very.
You have to do it, because that's what sets aside the election.
I thought that meant that they were then in,
No,
basically.
no, well, you
They're not
you accept the nominations, and then you do
Right.
acclamation.
Then you do acclamation.
Acclamation means they've been
It's
elected.
really
That's
bad,
what I
as we
thought,
did this
that's what I
last
thought.
year, and I can't remember what
That's
happened.
exactly, you're describing it correctly.
We're on the committee that way. and I
Here are
can't
no
remember.
nominations from the floor.
That's it.
Nominations are now closed.
That's right.
Do I have a motion? I suppose you could
To
say,
accept it
to
by
accept by acclamation.
Yeah.
I make a motion, yes,
Because you
vote,
have,
blah, blah,
yeah,
blah.
you have 4 candidates, 4
uncontested.
positions,
Okay, well,
and
all right.
And then there may be you know, I don't know how the vote will come out, but it probably.
I can't imagine who he's gonna say.
Didn't come out by acclamation. I've never seen it not come out.
As long as you have a quorum,
Right.
you're free.
And if there's not a quorum,
Then
we'll have a
it's said
special
and
meeting.
done, and then you don't have to count them, you don't have to
Yeah,
vote,
that's
you
right.
don't have to do all this other stuff.
Right,
Yeah, okay, all right, well,
Okay, I stand corrected, I'm sorry.
you
oh,
say,
you
How
what?
about your
you
city?
say corrected.
I was gonna say that. You beat me to
I
it.
sit corrected,
I don't
thank
think
you.
you were wrong about, I don't know
And
what you were
correctly.
corrected about, because I don't think you had any.
Thank you, Kurt. Sorry.
Okay, so I guess we know what we're doing there.
No.
We'll make it work on Saturday. You're always there to sort of,
Oh, no, I'm not gonna do
you're not gonna be there on Saturday? You're not down there.
Was there a look of panic there for a moment?
What? All right.
She only turned white.
No soliciting signs at entrances, so we,
Okay, that comes from a property owner who, I think she sent me an email, and she lives on Vista, which is just off Riverview, which is off of Rousby Hall Road. And I think she's a little bit handicapped in that, you know, so she's probably getting up and down to answer the door has prompted her to ask if we couldn't have no soliciting signs at the entrances.
Oh,
Yeah, I
those
guess we
soliciting in the
In
community.
the community, there would be 12 signs that we would have to order for all the different access points. But I have to say, this is the only person I've ever had make this request. So I don't know if it's something you want to consider. It, you know, would be somewhat of an expense. I had it figured out, I don't have it here. I think about 400 or so for the signs, and of course, then I would have to order posts. Because, you know, we keep a supply of these, not vandal-proof posts, but vandalism
Would they have any, would they
resistant
have any
posts.
validity?
Well, people are gonna do what they're gonna do. I
No,
mean,
but I mean,
What do you
is
mean?
it-
I will say the sheriff's department would not
I've never been
enforce
hit
that
by
for us,
Right.
if that's what you mean.
yeah, that's what I mean, I don't
No.
think it's enforceable.
It's not, the sheriff's department will not enforce our rules.
You know,
It's
you
not
why don't you
county-
recommend to her that she gets a sign, beware of the dog?
Right,
And puts it
that's a
up
good idea.
somehow in the beginning of her property.
That's a
No
good idea.
soliciting, beware of
Well, I
the
mean,
dog.
how many people say have, you know, keep out private property and their house is falling down, but it's okay.
There's a lot down there.
well, I don't know, well, any other?
We've always tried to keep signage somewhat to a minimum.
I don't know, there's something about,
How big is the problem?
I've
mean,
never
That's what I
been
say,
by a
it's the only
solicitor,
person
so I
I've
have
ever,
no
she's the
idea.
only one
The only one
I've
that
ever.
I think, once I had the high school kids come
Yeah,
by
yeah,
there.
I mean,
and
Yeah, I
was-
never had that.
2 years, that's all I've ever
Girls,
had.
I've never had anybody
Have
like
them sit
come
by the
around
glass. They start
um,
walking, they turn right around.
to solicit for like contract work or anything like that, or I've never had somebody come around to sell anything. I guess the only
They just
person I can
think,
think
oh,
of
we
who
got it.
came and knocked on our door was the trash collection company, whatever it's
Yeah,
called.
oh, you're right.
Evergreen.
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 That
They
is
had
true.
a real campaign last year.
Mhm.
They did.
Yeah, but they knock on your door once.
Yeah, oh, no, I'm not complaining, I'm just saying that's the only thing, that's the only actual solicitor I can think of. I'm sympathetic to her, but maybe it sounds like she needs a sign on her
I
property.
think that
Yeah,
makes sense.
no
That makes
soliciting.
sense. Right. Okay, all right, I will send her an email and I'll let her know that it was discussed.
Or
And,
beware of dog, that one's
and I'll
always good.
Yeah.
suggest that maybe she get that.
My dog
sign,
bites. Stay away.
Get a tape recorder.
Really big water bowl.
That
There you
reminds me,
go.
this reminds me when I was working with USGS and I was looking for sites to do sampling along the shoreline and up the river. And my intern and I would be driving around and a lot of really upscale homes. And we would go up and just, knock on the door to see if we could get permission to use it. There were actually places that had silhouettes of people. I mean, there were these dark silhouettes, black silhouettes, cardboard silhouettes that would show up in the windows and look like somebody was home.
Really?
Yeah, it was just bizarre. You go up and look in the door and you see these cardboard silhouettes around.
Really?
Yeah, it was really spooky.
Wow.
I'd never seen that one.
That is weird. All right, so we're gonna let that one know.
Right. I'll send her an email.
Let that go. Well, or you're gonna, well,
I'll let her know that we brought it up, or I brought it up to the board, and it was discussed, but that it wasn't really seen as a big problem in the community.
No, but also hit the enforcement part of it. I mean, you know, the fact
And the
is,
fact that the sheriff's department will not
nobody will
enforce
enforce the
that.
sign.
And keeping
Right.
signage to a minimum.
That's a
You know.
good idea.
Okay. All right, as long as you're comfortable with how you're gonna respond on
Oh,
that. And then you have another, well, you finish your notes, but you have another in your public areas.
Yeah, Gary asked me to put this on. I had I'm taking in a lot of checks and payments these days, and one woman included a note, and I have it on my desk. She was a little irritated, not so much that the fees are so high, but that there aren't many amenities. There's no picnic area, there's no playground, which we discussed a little while ago. And she said something to the effect of, no offense to anybody here, because I know you guys would probably be in favor of it, the old timers are gonna have to realize that there are younger families in this community, and we need to have that type of an amenity. I don't think she called it an amenity. She'd like to see our money go to something like that. So I guess the idea of putting it on the agenda is, where might we be able to have something like
that's the
this?
question, where are you
Well,
gonna
there
put
are
these
a couple
things?
of
Playground
areas.
and budget.
Well, and the budget as well.
But I thought about after we had talked about it, or
Right.
emailed, whatever.
So,
We do
so,
have that leftover money, you know,
yeah,
that we've talked about supplementing our paving.
I mean,
Right.
I would say that if we don't, we're gonna have some more money come up if we don't have any more snowstorms too, because
I know.
we're gonna underspend the budget this year.
Of course, we cannot spend STD money on something like
Right.
this.
Well,
It would have to be
I guess
mandatory assessment.
one of the things where do we have contiguous lots?
Well,
They could be used.
Cleared, and
instead of-
you know, you gotta clear them, you gotta develop them, you gotta,
I mean,
This
I
is
know we
something I
have,
thought
we have
of
some
before.
over on Mill Street Drive.
Here's Drum Point Lake. So at the top of Drum Point Lake, we own these two lots. This is an easement to the lake, which I don't really know the topography of it and how
It's
accessible
steep,
that
but
would be.
you know, it's, you
If
can
maybe-
make a path down the lake.
I thought it'd be perfect, because you could launch a kayak in there. Of course, people that live here probably won't like that idea. And that was the whole problem. You mentioned earlier, Kurt, we had sent a survey out a number of years ago now. You know, what would you like to see us do? Want some playgrounds, basketball courts, you know? And I've got the survey and a graph and everything that I did, but nobody wanted anything.
No, I mean, that was
Basically,
it.
is
I
what you
mean,
would
one of the,
say.
one of the
Not on
things,
my
I mean,
property.
one of the shocking things was, I think, in one of the presentations to the commissioners, where a young woman got up
That
and
was
said,
once
I
when I
don't, I mean,
first
it was,
started.
so just basically, she said, we don't see any need for that at all. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it wasn't an older grumpy old person.
Right, right.
I mean, if you had old, Joe Ruggieri, he'd talk about, he'd be talking about, no, I mean, all you had to do is mention basketball backboards,
I know.
and he would freak out.
Oh, I can even tell you some of the comments I had about basketball courts.
I mean,
And it was obvious what they were talking about.
yeah, so-
The other suggestion I was thinking of, and this goes back to the beach and the Drum Point Club, is, we have our lot, well, and then it joins up to the Drum Point Club. So why couldn't we find space in there, maybe at the back of our community beach, and maybe partially on Drum Point Club property? I don't know what it looks like in there, but isn't there something
Well,
there?
there's a
that
fence,
we
there's a
could
fence
do?
that separates them too, so first,
Well,
you have the problem of going through the hole in the fence.
Well,
You
you'd
get
have
to
to
that.
have, in cooperation with the club.
but, but the other thing is, these people with, having had young people,
Right,
kids.
sure.
It's a question of how far are they willing to go to get to this playground?
I know.
You're gonna put in a playground and then the next one is, well, that's too far away, I wanna, how
I
do you
understand what
figure
you're saying.
that
It's a
out?
lot closer than Cove Point.
True.
Well, yeah, that's it, yeah.
Right. Or maybe there are other ideas, maybe not just a
Right up
playground,
front.
but just something.
Right up front.
Well, I'll
You
tell
can
you,
supervise.
John,
Hey, all right.
I want a raise. John Gray, who, I don't know if everybody remembers John, probably not. He's passed away a couple of years ago when he was on the board for a lot of years. But he used to always want to buy this lot across the street. It doesn't perk. And the woman that owns it has said, I'll give you first right of refusal. Of course, I don't know if she remembers that, that was a while ago. But he wanted to do something, like over there,
I
You
mean,
know, the
that's-
kids do play football over there, they gather
That
there.
makes sense, how much is the lot? I mean, I don't wanna spend
Patch
money.
is not for sale, I mean, I
Oh,
don't know,
it's not.
she would have to be approached again, but,
I mean, the unpermeable, the unbuildable lots just basically are valued about, 4,500, something like that.
you're right, that's right. So, I don't,
It's
just
sorta
something to
flat.
think of, I guess.
Fence it?
Right. I don't even know,
Some
why would
people
you have
might
to
object
fence
because
it?
You would definitely have to fence it.
Oh, yeah,
because of the-
For the
because of-
liability?
Well,
Let's
because of how fast people like to drive right now.
Well,
Yeah.
that's,
Right.
that's true.
Yeah, well, then you've gotta put up the children playing signs, but, I'm just wondering, are people gonna complain that it's right there, or it's, it's on Vereda and Lake, a busy street?
I would say you're gonna have somebody complain no matter what you do.
Well, that's
So-
true.
But I think
You know.
if we chain link it or something, then, or even an invisible, or a barrier so you can't see it in there, it might be safe, but, I think the fence is gonna be on the right of way line.
From the safety point of view, I think Rhea's idea, we do have room on the beach to do that. And I've gone down to the beach many times in the summer, around 10 o'clock in the morning, 11 o'clock. And mostly there are 20 to 30-year-old mothers with their toddlers, while husband's off doing their thing. These mothers are down there letting the kids play in the beach and the turf, surf. And a playground there, we already have video surveillance down there,
That's true.
and we have warning signs, and it's closed. That's probably, even though it isn't perhaps accessible to everybody, it is in the middle of that might be a place where we could do that, and have
What would you want?
the
explain
community
so?
know about it, but at least it's already a community location.
Right, right.
And it has a certain amount of protection based on video. It's very interesting how many people use that beach in the summer. The mothers want to get the kids out of the house,
Oh, yeah.
and they're going nuts, and they just as soon go lie on the beach themselves to get a little tan. And it was quite nicely used, and that's why I'd like to
I mean, we could,
try to keep
we
that
could,
beach
we could
going.
clear back some of the Phragmites and other stuff that's right on the inner side of the lake.
I mean, there's, we're talking about the beach being the sandy area, that people park on, on the more, the flat area.
Right,
So
so,
back towards the lake. I
right,
was thinking there's that space back by the lake that you could probably make for a playground.
right, I say, because there's Phragmites there, and so away from between the parking lot and the fence,
Yeah,
there's probably a space where we could put playground equipment now. Then we'd have to decide what type, how much, so that we don't.
there's
get
a
into the-
concrete structure there, which I'm not sure why it was there.
That's where the porta potty is.
It used to be a porta potty. in
It
there.
still is, in the summertime they
Oh,
bring it
is
back.
there still there?
Yeah, in the summertime they bring it back in.
Well,
Brother shop.
It's right in the middle of the place, but yeah, maybe relocate that.
It's a band that plays every time the door opens.
I didn't know that.
But anyway, I think your idea, Rita, is probably
Yeah.
the most palatable one that I can think of. Or
Which, those lots over there, or the beach?
At the beach.
the beach, because we already have video surveillance down there. And if you're gonna have kids down there, now you'd have to post sign, we should have a sign, no lifeguard, no supervision, use at your own risk.
Right.
So is this
So we don't already?
There is a big sign.
We
there,
don't
is it
have a
not?
use at your own risk sign down there. I don't think so.
Okay.
No, but, so how would we do this? Is this something at the, that we would want to raise at the general membership meeting to get agreement for this? Because it would become a budget item of some,
Well,
or just the board just
I
vote
think
to
Gary
do it?
kind of wanted to, if it would fit in the budget, and obviously it's not gonna happen tomorrow.
So
I
then-
think that Gary's idea was that if there's money for it, if in June, if the community approves the budget,
Sure.
we just go ahead and do it.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
Not
yeah.
really put it up to a survey and a vote.
And
because you-
especially if you're gonna
Yes,
do it
no,
on your
yes.
own property already. It's
So,
not an
so
issue.
what you wanna do is put a line in the budget that says
Playground.
playground equipment.
Perhaps, yeah.
Just put as a line,
Right.
and then everybody gets to review the budget and say, huh, why is this in here? And then we can explain it, and then if they wanna vote against it, they can vote against it.
Right,
but-
I mean, Gary's not here to give his 2 cents, but I just sort of figured I got the feeling that that's sort of what he was thinking, given the fact that you're gonna find 50 that say yes and 50 that say no. Yeah.
So, what do you think it would
Idea how
cost?
much this would be?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna-
No idea, no idea.
So it really does
Plus the
depend
liability
on-
insurance, I guess we would wanna check.
Yeah,
What
it'll
does
be a
someone
direct
mean
function
when
of
they
how
say
elaborate you get.
Playground.
I-
What, one of these rustic wooden just swing sets and a sliding board, or?
I mean, those are the things that everybody was building those things, you know,
Yeah.
back in the nineties and
Yeah.
stuff. And then they came up with all kinds of liability,
Oh, really?
suits against them.
Well, so what you do
Those
is you go up to
specific
Drum
ones?
Point, I mean, to Cove Point Park, and you look at the kind of stuff that's in Cove Point Park. That's what we would probably have to do, because that should meet safety rules. You know, Cove Point Park's a private property, right?
Yeah, we could probably get some input from the parks
Right.
people.
Obviously, it wouldn't maybe be as elaborate as what is up there.
Yeah.
I
Well,
haven't
Cove
been up
Point
there.
Park, that belongs to,
Okay.
was it given to the county, or does Cove Point still own the,
I
because the property was pushed through from the gas plant.
don't know.
So I don't know if it still belongs to them and they have set it up for everybody or what, we'll have to check on
I do not know.
Well, the other thing is, has anybody recommended to this family that there is a club? that's-
that. The club has no
Well,
playground.
They don't
And that
have
was,
anything either.
well, I think I said earlier, I said to Ralph, I didn't, I said to Ralph, gee, if you just had a playground or something,
Yeah,
more
well,
people
that's a
would join.
suggestion to Ralph,
Yeah.
that's definitely a draw for young
Mhm.
families.
Yeah,
Or maybe that's where we get them to put it just inside their fence line next to our property and leave the fence open.
Why not? Yeah, what,
People walk through there anyway.
yeah, why not, yeah, yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't change.
We'd have a lot of clearing to do, there's a lot of planning.
well, and there's critical area issues then too, we have.
Well, we have that problem, anyway if we're gonna put any
They cut down
foundation.
several trees on a Sunday.
All right, well,
So that is a different issue.
Mhm.
If we have to put foundations in, we're gonna have to get environmental permits.
Right.
Oh, well, yeah, and it will take foundations, because.
Yes.
so do we need does this come under your operations committee or, how, because it seems like we have some,
See, there's
Information that
there's
we need.
Gary in planning, I don't know which.
oh, yeah, this was Gary's idea, wasn't it? Or,
It was kind of that lady that wrote on your envelope.
Put it under the beach committee, maybe.
We don't have a beach.
As an augmentation of the beach. It's really a
I
facility.
think it's just sort of an exploratory.
It's a
thing right
facility.
now.
We
Yeah.
have picnic tables. What's the line item where you put picnic tables down on the beach? This would
We don't
come
have a
in.
line item for picnic
This would
tables
come
because
under
we don't
this.
buy new ones every year. Hospitality, I think is probably, if we had to buy one, that's probably where I'd put it.
That'd be the same one that you put picnic
Or we'll
tables.
put it in the welcoming committee.
We could do that, but it's a welcoming.
Welcoming.
We have no welcoming committee person now,
Right.
although Libby did mention that she might be
I just want to change the name. of the
Miscellaneous
committee. Maybe I can make it the
expendable supply.
Community outreach and playground committee.
interested. There you go.
Community outreach.
All right, well, we'll sort of maybe, people can scratch around and get some ideas.
Mhm.
And we can, table the discussion, is that the right thing to do?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'll put it on next
Yeah.
month's
We've
agenda.
got time,
To be
but
discussed in the future.
it'll
We need
be
a
under
motion
old
to
business
table it?
next month.
Right.
And
You do it.
Jack, you can slide a line on, see if it can fit in the budget, something. I don't know. It's
Well,
gonna
see
be,
if I
gonna be
can
a
get
few
some
$1,000s.
prices. Yeah, I'll get, see if I can get some prices.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I would think so,
This is not residential stuff,
No.
I mean, this is.
Right.
No.
right.
Yeah, no, and it's gonna take time, because we are gonna have to get some sort of permits to.
Oh, yeah.
But, anyway, we can get it started. Okay, good, well, we'll discuss it at the next meeting, we'll table it for now. Let's see, we need to schedule the next meeting.
Somebody with a
I'll
phone.
make my phone in my car. Do we got a calendar?
Okay, the first Tuesday is the fourth,
Sorry, before.
April 4th.
When's Easter? The following weekend?
I think it's later in the month, yeah.
It's not too
Palm
much.
Sunday is the following Sunday.
Is it?
And then,
So Easter's more like the middle of the month?
yeah, it's a little closer.
I mean, like I said, the 4th is the first Tuesday.
Okay.
Is that what we want to do?
Yeah.
Will Gary be back by then?
Yes, he comes back right at the end of this month.
Okay,
April 4th?
okay,
All right.
any other public comment? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved. Second.
Seconded, aye, aye.
I-
Aye. Aye, aye.
I would too.